I know quite a bit about APB, but the origin, I would imagine, probably had to do with drivers being a genre that won't go away, and I forget what other drivers were probably out at the same time, but he was probably trying to come up with a twist, it's a driver, but it's a little different, and throwing in some humorous elements. So I imagine it had a lot to do with the fact the drivers were the most popular genre, and he wanted to come up with something that was slightly different than your typical driver.
For me, it looked very much like the old style single sprint or bug games where your car is right in the middle of the screen, you can rotate the screen around, or at least drive around the screen. But in the old games, it was a race. This one was more freestyle. And I'm sure you just probably, to me, it just wanted to add a chase element to it.
As I said, back then it was a lot different. You wouldn't have these big GDDs and TDDs out there, technical design documents and everything. And it was basically, Dave had done some phenomenal games, Missile Command and Tempest and iRobot. And as a master designer, I guess, was given the rein to go off and explore ideas that he saw fit to explore, and the company supported him in that exploration. And so I think it grew out of Dave's mind, this is me just assuming this, it grew out of Dave's mind, and these features just kept getting added in.
And there's the elements of the game that graphically they were I thought were really beautiful. Mm-hmm. I mean, you chase a guy through a forest, and this guy was like a fire pyro dude, and if you didn't catch him in a certain amount of time, this whole forest would be like on fire. And it was like there were a lot of, every element within it was like taken kind of from real life, though. Country kind of roads, a little saloon bar, and people staggering out of it. I don't know.
As we talk about it, there's incredible depth in this.
Oh, and the levels were way too big without much structure. And you'd have a hard time, like, I don't think I've ever played it going down the same roads, twice in a row. It was crazy. We didn't really cut anything out, that was the thing. We just kept, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do here? Well, you don't want to get too many demerits, but you got to go chase all these different violators down, but you still got to remember where the police station is so you can get back there before your day shift runs out. But on top of that, there's these criminals that are really bad guys that you want to search after and find. Then you want to bring them back, and you want to then interrogate them with a confesso reader, and it's like, it goes on and on. It goes on and on and on. And every new day, there's yet another quota. Because that was the whole thing. Okay, first day is really easy. It's just a couple that we had cabs that would go around honking. It's like, they're annoying. It's like we had little great pictures of a litter bug, a pink convertible car. This girl was kind of half in and half out the car, kicking her legs. The guy was tossing cans. And it was like, okay, we got to find somebody of those. And you have little vans with smoke coming out the top. It's like they created like every kind of humorous, but violation that you could come up with. And then I would sit there and I'd create these tables to determine how many of a certain element was required for the quota of the day. And then on top of all that, just the layout of the entire playfields themselves, there was tons and tons of Easter eggs. Hidden things. You could drive behind all the buildings and get completely off of the road, pick up bags of money. It's like, as I think about it, it's like, what a mess. It's just like, when you develop something and you have a bunch of really creative people, that's just way too much time. It's too much time to work on, because what you end up with is you end up with all these really neat elements. There was donut shops. That was obviously they used my voice as better. It's time to get a donut. Could use a donut. There was big things along the road, kind of like donut stands, where these big shovel things would come out, and you'd time it right and collect all these donuts, and there was every aspect of attributing your car. There was shops that you'd drive in and trade your money in for way too many different kinds of attributes for your car. There was gas. You only had so much gas. That was another element in the game that you remember. There was gas stations that you'd pull into, and there was ways to get quick gas, and there's ways
It'd be neat to get like 10 designers loose with that same tool and see what games came out of it.
It was like it was trying to be realistic, but at the same time, I mean, the driving model was kind of like a sprint. You could whip the wheel and you could drive all around, and
Didn't you mainly go up?
you could go up, you could go sideways, you could go down.
3 years of depth. 3 years of depth was in the game.
But it was
I came in at the last 6 months to draw it all together and get it on the production line. And,
the one thing I do remember about the end of the project was it's great to be at the end. The distributor show they had was held at Hilton Head Island. I'd never been to the East Coast. I was like, wow, this water's warm. And we set the game up. We had all these distributors there. I remember we sold 2,000 units that weekend, and that was it. It's like, okay. It was like, I've never been involved in a game where we sold. People wanted it for some reason, but once they got it, they realized, I guess it wasn't quite what everybody who had come through the labs and they'd seen it was like, wow, look at all this stuff.
It looked nice.
Yeah, and it looked fun.
It looked fun.
But it was like, I think what we realize now, there was not enough holding it together. There was too much freedom. There was too many elements, and it got a lot of laughs, but it wasn't the kind of game in the coin-out market that you'd say was a huge hit. But it was one of the better weekend sales that Atari had.
It was a very interesting concept in terms of all the stuff it did.
I'd also say that I thought it was just a hysterical gig. I mean, as I play it, and I have one that works here still, I turn it on every once in a while, and it's like, yeah, I have no problem playing it. I'm pretty good at it, but it's like I find myself laughing constantly as I'm playing it, just at the visuals.
It's a comic book game.
You drive by places, there's bars and there's guys like in the windows fighting, and other guys drinking beer. It's like, you just get these glimpses of, it's kind of simulates like way things really are in life, but it's done in a comical game sense, and it's just a very bizarre, eclectic group of occurrences in a video game. I had a gentleman named Alan Murphy, who was a crazy artist, but very, very talented. He had a lot of wacky ideas, which really, showed itself off in the game itself. A lot of times I'd specify certain tiles that I needed. I'm trying to do this kind of a thing on the playfield, but I just don't have the proper tile sets. So, there was so much old art that was created. He could, within minutes, almost make me any kind of tile I wanted, just out of the sheer volume of stuff he had. So it was like, that was quick. So was anything I needed as far as finishing tiles, little pieces to really make something really smooth and look nice and work well, very easy to create. But I wasn't involved at all in the actual creation of the art. APB took from start to finish a little more than 3 years, I believe. And I can't really attribute that long development cycle to anything other than Dave Tour's infectious behavior with creating tools that are just unbelievable as far as how they interact with everything. And maybe it might have been a simple process to do a certain thing, but he insisted that it should be built into the tool.
It was a gorgeous game editing tool. If you'd seen it at the time, basically anybody could walk up to this device that David designed and design this game. I mean, it'd take a skill to still make it fun, but I mean, the ability you had to basically edit everything in the game, from the animations to the different tiles and moving them around, and different attributes and things in the game, it was a glorious piece of work.
Pretty much the entire game was the tool.
Yeah. And then you were brought on.
I worked on it for the last 6 months of the project, and my responsibilities were in basically building all the worlds using this editor and playing it to make sure it was fun. The biggest problem that I saw was, and I didn't even see that at the time, but looking back on it, he had been working on this project so long that there was so much content that was created that in hindsight, basically the worlds were too big. There was too many layers of game. There was, I mean, the base part of the game was simple, but there was so much game on top of it all. There was so many layers that I think a lot of it just got lost in the translation. The interesting story about the Confessometer. The game had a series of supposedly really bad guys that you had a whole picture, and they were all, you had to get those guys brought back and put in jail. And the game basically kept track of how many of these different really bad guys that you had caught. And every time you had encountered one of them on your, it's like every so many levels, maybe it was every 2 or 3 days, I forget exactly the ratio of how often they would come out. But there would be this whole little upfront story to say, such and such has escaped and they're going to be in this vehicle. And as you were driving around that particular day, you would go into an area that had to do with, there was always something about that criminal and the surrounding areas within that playfield that day where the two kind of, it made sense. And if you could capture that, and the way to capture these criminals is you basically had to catch up with them, and then you had to ram them off the road. Not just touch them like the quotas. You had to actually, and they would try hard to evade you. But once you did capture them and bring them back to the police station, the game would cut to a screen with, there's basically a stairs, it was kind of like a basement. So you'd have an overweight, pot-bellied police sergeant, and he was your timer, and he would start at the top of the stairs, and like you hear the door open, and then done, he'd be like, you see his belly bouncing, and he was your timer. And then there was a window that was kind of like, you could see silhouettes. So as the player, you'd see the Confessometer would come up, and then you would do the track and field timing of the buttons. And if you kept it in sync and kept the speed up, you could get the meter to reach Confessometer before the policeman, the chief, could get to the bottom. And the visual you saw was the police officer basically beating the crap out of the convict, trying to get him to confess. You kind of see him being held by the neck and a series of punching. It was very, very funny. One of Dan Van Elden had come into the lab, and he was looking at the game one day, and he was basically the man in charge, and he still is here at Atari. And maybe he had heard about something I had installed into the game, but we basically put in a 2-punch combination where it was not just into the upper body, but it was also into the lower body. And he made me take that out.
It was System 2, wasn't it? It was the System 2 hardware, Sprint, and Tubin.
Yes.
Yes, it was writing that, yeah, we basically, I don't remember for sure, but we probably, due to the fact that it was such a long development, we probably kept having little bells and whistles. There's different versions of the hardware made, but it was a medium res System 2 hardware.
I'm wondering, a game like that probably wouldn't have been possible, maybe even when the project first started, because of it being so deep. You wouldn't have the memory for something like that. Is that the case?
It's hard for me to answer truthfully because
All right.
I'm not sure what the original proposal on the scope of the project was. I don't believe it was intended to be a 3-year endeavor.
No.
I would imagine that the game, the hardware was capable, and there was enough memory to hold everything, probably from the get-go. Well, that's when they basically, they wanted to, we probably put a chunk of money into the game itself due to the hardware and the monitor. So here you definitely, you need a seat, right? So there wasn't any money left. So we designed the cheapest little pad, basically a little tiny bench on a steel pole that, inserted into a receptacle in the cabinet, and it was like, that was like, okay, here's your seat. And I remember they had problems in manufacturing actually getting the seat packed in with the game, so that there's a bunch of operators got their games without a seat initially. I remember that, and that's how I think it had a couple different adjustments where you could put it so that everybody could reach the pedal. It's always with the driver, kind of a stand-up driver. It's always where once you apply some sort of seat, then the next question is, okay, well, can little kids reach a pedal without having to get off of the seat and at the same time still see? So there's always those constraints in there. Yeah, I would say so, just because of the fact that the game had so much exploring in it, but it was also forcing you to keep moving quickly and always remember you had to watch your gas tank, you had to watch your time on the day would be slipping by. You had so much stuff to do, or you could do, and it was easy to get off track and start doing that stuff, but at the same time the game was also forcing you to be quick, and the two elements really did fight with each other. So having the freedom of being able to do that in an atmosphere where you're not demanding coin drop on a time basis, yeah, I think it would make a lot better. The problem is a game like that, like a shooter, sometimes very difficult. It's not everybody's got a steering wheel. Sometimes those games don't translate that well, especially if you're trying to play it with a keyboard.
The differences, the main differences between Championship Sprint, which was a sequel to Super Sprint, were simple. We added 4 new tracks. We chose the 4 most popular tracks from Super Sprint, carried those over, didn't throw those away, and added 4 new tracks to Championship Sprint. And then we changed, a minor change to the way you can build up your car. When a car crashes into a fence in Super Sprint, a helicopter comes out and drops you off a new one. Well, that just seemed to be too slow, that whole process of the helicopter flying across the screen, dropping. You're ready to get back in the race. And so as one of the features of Championship Sprint, which you can add to your car's performance, is how fast the chopper comes out and drops off the new car. And you can build that up to a level where so you can get a new car replaced very quickly in Championship Sprint. But that's it, 4 new tracks, faster chopper.
Was it a 2-player version also?
It was 2. Obviously, the most major difference was 2-player. Championship Sprint was designed as a kit. It would fit some of those upright cabinets that were out there, the standard upright cabinet. It's a 2-player game.
And how long did that take to develop that?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I think 3 months maybe. It was a very short time, 3 or 4 months.
More an update.
Yeah, it's more of an update.
I like the animations of the first, second, third place.
Yeah.
That is a great reward system.
Yeah. There's one where I think if it's third place, the guy he'd be mad, and he'd be like leaning into his car to the engine, and we had like a hacksaw.
He's like,
And then every once in a while, the steam would come back in the guy's face. But we always tried to add a little bit of comic relief into those screens where we're trying to represent how well you did.
or how poorly.
You did, but the poor guy who didn't do so well, at least you got a good little chuckle out of the different animations that were there.
Yeah, and that's an important game design point, actually, is in games, you don't want to really humiliate people when they lose. You just, if you poke fun at them and can make them laugh when they lose, that's good, because then they don't feel so bad. Again, but you lose, you're in 4th place, you just ran a horrible race in Championship Sprint, you look at the screen at the end that shows you the rankings, and there's a guy with a hacksaw hacking on your car. It's kind of fun. You get a little chuckle out of it and you go on. I actually had a Championship Sprint at my office. One of the steering wheels was broken on it, so maybe while I'm here I can pick up spare parts. But I will say one other thing about the steering wheels. We talked about the steering algorithm being changed so players can really spin that wheel to get that nice effect. Well, that actually was a problem as the game was being produced over time. People were spinning those wheels so much during gameplay it was causing an excessive heat buildup. And we had a lot of steering wheel shafts heat up and crack. It was kind of a customer service nightmare, shipping out new steering wheels to all these guys for overplay, which that's a good problem.
Welcome to Cyberball.
Welcome, Red Warrior. Ooh. Make walls disappear. Let's see you get out of here.
Well, Gauntlet came about because in 1984 and 5, D&D was very popular. And I wanted to do a game where we could put more than one player around the monitor, which was the traditional arcade approach at that time. In fact, the original plan was to have 4 players around the monitor. We actually succeeded in that. The point of that, of course, is to get $1 per play for a certain amount of time, which is typically 1.5 to 2 minutes in arcade games. That way, maximize the amount of earnings.
So as to the game designer's philosophy, do you feel sometimes that you're thinking more as a businessman and trying to take the money, or versus entertaining the player? So do any of you have kind of a problem with that?
That's the main goal of doing coin-op games, is to get, you're renting, it's pay per play, and you're renting time for people to watch pictures. And you always, that's always when you're designing a coin-op game, what the goal is to earn money. And if your game doesn't earn money, then it won't exist. So there is nothing else.
It's very much like the movie business. where you try to get box office receipts for the first month or week or something like that, to show how well the product's doing. And hopefully it'll carry on for the rest of the year. And that's what we do when we're coin up. We put it out for a week and see how much money it earns, and we compare that with other games that have been produced in the past as well as the games that are currently there.
Yeah, Mark's right. I mean, if your game doesn't make money, all your wonderful design is basically gone. Nobody's ever going to play that game. So, I mean, it's very important to focus on the ultimate coin coming through the coin door.
And to get to the pay money is so that they have to be entertained. That's what makes them want to continue to play, is entertainment. So it does feed back into the original core design. What happens though is, I think, rather than having the time to let things play out, you have to pack as much entertainment as possible in a 90-second period. So that's the big challenge.
In your whole game design is dictated by that. We used to call it the psychology of attic pulling. You would sit around and try to introduce things into your game design that would give players the most bang for their buck in a short amount of time. That would want them to keep adding money to the game. Gauntlet is probably the best example of that. As Ed said, with 4 players standing around the cabinet, it's drawing a maximum amount of coin drop over time. It was very successful because of it.
There's a real key design in the way that they brought the monitor up toward the angle of the monitor itself, and the fact that they basically didn't use the glass over the monitor, and that brought the monitor very close, and the design of the control panel was such that you could actually get 4 players comfortably around the cabinet. At the same time, there could be other games in a fairly close proximity to the cabinet itself.
What kind of, you said you had a level editor, was that on an actual PC or?
No, it was actually on the...
There was no PCs back then.
What's a PC?
What's a piece?
So it was a proprietary system?
It was the target hardware.
So it was right on the hardware?
Yeah, on the joysticks and just moved around, so a plop, 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 wall, generator, plop, so Wista connects it over here and start it over here.
Our target systems were so much more graphically powered than any computer available at the time. It was ludicrous to think to write a tool on anything other than the target system, because that's where the graphics were. And so we all would write tools in editors and tile-based, level editors that were all target-based systems. And that's how almost every single one of our products back then were based, with these in-system editors.
And it worked great because you could edit something and then play it right away. And then switch to another mode, and then you go play it, and then go back to the editor and change something, so.
We added secret levels in Gauntlet II that were not in Gauntlet. We actually had a contest where you could actually, if you got to them and got through them all, we'd give you a prize.
What was it?
But I think there were somewhere around 125 levels, not counting mirrors and other rotations, because we could flip it horizontally or vertically, or both.
So how was it designing those levels? Must have been taking a lot of time to do that.
We had an editor that allowed you to design it. We had it back in Gauntlet days as well. For example, I think I left for my first sabbatical here at Atari, and I came back and suddenly we finished off the last basically 40 levels or so. I think we had 110 or so.
We had level editor, right? That other
There was a level editor, people could just come in and like flop the walls, replace walls and exits, and it was, it worked well.
It was easy to use.
It was very easy to use. It was all tile-based games, so it didn't take a rocket scientist to place the tuning of the levels themselves was much more difficult.
Well, basically what I used was a lot of the numbers, let other programmers come in and give me a level and say, okay, let's stick it in. It's got some unique, interesting ideas about it. Some of them, for example, had transporter problems. If I wanted to get through the transporters to manage to get where you're going to go, because there were tricks involved with using it. Others were straightforward, well, the guy's got to go do this, so you can run around and do that over here. And others are straightforward, there's just a million guys coming at you. How are you going to get through here? Approach to it.
With a game how long would it take to play through all the levels, do you think?
Good question.
Did you ever do it?
Yes.
They would have had to take at least like 6 hours or 8 hours.
Yeah, I think it is.
Because I remember us trying when it was here. That's when I first started here. You guys just released it. It was like I remember playing through like the first 25 or 40 like in a whole morning and just getting like, God, it took so long.
In the original Gauntlet, each of the characters were assigned to a particular position. So if you wanted to play the Hulk or the Warrior, you would have to be in the leftmost position, you wore red. In Gauntlet II, you could choose any of the 4 characters, it was just a matter of the colors in that position. So if you wanted to be a red character, you went to the left position, you could pick any character. If you wanted to be a red elf. And so
But
on.
as far as the various strengths and weaknesses of each individual character, if you decided to play one character versus another, were you basically, you know, I know in Dungeons & Dragons they try to make it so that there's weaknesses in one character, but there's strengths in other aspects, other attributes.
Yes, each of the characters were designed for specific strengths. You know, the Hulk was intended to be just hand-to-hand combat. The Magician was for purely magic. The Elf was for speed. He was being able to run in, do something, and run out again, not getting caught.
The Valkyrie was the
Well,
most...
Valkyrie was intended to be a balanced character.
I guess in theory, the way it was designed, from what I always saw, was if you had 4 players, you'd want to have each of the characters being represented, and then your position, the players would then position themselves such that you'd let the warrior go first because he was very strong with the hand-to-hand combat, and then the elf or archer would, because he was fast, you'd want him to maybe go get the keys, go in there quickly, grab something and come back. And then the wizard and magician, he could stand back, and when things got rough, he'd fire off his magic. So it was real strategic. And when you had 4 players, if you had one of each of them, in theory you had the best battle unit you could create.
But you had to develop certain strategies.
Definitely you had to understand what your strengths and weaknesses of each character were, and then you had to figure out where you were best positioned as a group to move forward and do the attacks.
Or you could just put more quarters in,
Yeah.
which was okay with us.
But no, there was teams of kids who would develop their skills and play as a unit, and they would, as a group, see how far they could go on a single quarter, each of them.
Speeches was intended to be, again going back to D&D for Gauntlet, was to have the dungeon master sort of be looking over your shoulder often with little snide comments of, you know, maybe you should have done this, or maybe you should have done that, or you stupid idiot, you know, why did you do that? So we came up with little phrases. We created a huge list of phrases. We had somebody record there. So you're probably familiar with things like, you know, the elf is taking all the food there.
Elf needs food.
Needs food badly. It's the most popular phrase.
That's what elf needs food.
Never say anything badly because it always needs food. Or the one I like is the son of Ed has got all the treasure.
Don't shoot the food.
Me? Yeah, don't shoot the food.
But what was the speech hardware in those machines?
It was just recording stuff.
Highly robust. Road tracks, or whatever.
There's no road tracks.
It was past that.
There was TI, there was a TI speech synth. It was the same one that they used in the same, speak and spell, exactly the same chip that they used in the speak and spell.
And was that a 16-bit game or still 8-bit?
There was done on 68,000. The first game was done on 68,000. And that's in colony or 16 now.
They were to be more bits as much back then.
Since you don't remember. Good philosophy is one of the largest master register size. You call it 16. Now you know.
And you had how much memory to work with?
Come on, pull out of
Well, I could go back to some earlier stuff.
It wasn't a
Gauntlet, I don't remember. You got to understand too, there was program space and there was graphic space and there was alphanumeric. So there's several different address spaces in Gauntlet. Like alphanumerics just had A through Z and a few special characters. The pictures on the screen were separate from the program. You couldn't access one except through the hardware. Saying, okay, go draw this, and you knew what the picture was. was 2 full-time programmers on it. There was a full-time electrical engineer designing the board. We had a technician who was shared among 2 or 3 projects at the time. His responsibility is to keep the development systems up and running, to get the cabinets ready for field tests, to get problems associated with production going. We had, I think, 4 artists part-time. They were a majority of the project, but they also did other things at the beginning and end of the project. They were full-time or not. No, I specifically told the engineer what I wanted on Gauntlet.
It was a mob chip, right?
He did a Mach 56 style, but it had some very unique features with the way he had done it. Before, we used to only process 56 motion objects at a time. And what he allowed you to do was look at a motion object, and if it wasn't visible on that portion of the screen, simply skip it like a half clock cycle. So we could process like 112 motion objects, of which only 56 were visible at once.
On one line.
Yeah, on one line. We had some other specific stuff in there, and I came up with a very unique collision algorithm that permitted you to really look at your neighbors to move anybody around. So even though there were 1,000 objects in the world, you didn't have to compare 1,000 objects with the other 1,000 objects to see if you could zero into that.
Here it is! Mortal Kombat II! More characters! 3 times more images! More secret moves! More battlegrounds! More hidden surprises! And it's the first video game to feature our crystal clear DCS sound. These are the 12 combatants. Each possesses an array of special strengths. Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Johnny Cage, Reptile, Sub-Zero, Shang Tsung, Kitana, Jax, Melina, Baraka, Scorpion, and Raiden. Get to know these characters, because when it comes to fighting for profits, they're all in your corner. Mortal Kombat 1 has started an unstoppable global fire, and notoriety has fanned the flames. The world's players have embraced these characters, and they're begging us for more. Never before has a game been so perfectly poised for such massive success. What was a roaring blaze will now become a raging inferno of profit. Get ready to feel the heat of Mortal Kombat 2. The world's ultimate fighting machine. Whose idea was Mortal Kombat?
Well, actually, the initial idea,
I woke up, just wanted to imagery,
My name is David Mikic, and I'm a graphic artist. My name's Dan Ford, and I do sounds and music. And tell people.
My name is Ed Boone. I'm co-designer and programmer.
My name's Tony Goski, and I do backgrounds and special effects.
John Vogel, backgrounds and special effects.
John Tobias, and co-designer and lead artist.
Steve Moran, and I'm a video artist.
Our motto in Williams is always that reality's boring. Nobody wants to pay for reality. We take everything beyond reality to the point where it's, the only way to do this is through our video game.
It's the perfect blending of everything. I mean, the game is fun to play. It's got good graphics, and it's got a decent backstory to it.
It's easy to come up with the ideas, anybody can come up with ideas for games and stuff, but it's to actually convert something from an idea in your head into reality, into something that is a sellable product. That's where the challenge is.
This is sort of the very first concept of the story. This guy here eventually became Shang's son.
The mystique and all that whole feeling of it was really, the foundation of that was really what John Tobias kind of envisioned.
One thing Mortal Kombat does for all of us is it puts you in a mood or puts you in a setting where you're sort of able to create things that are surreal. Mortal Kombat 1 took place more, on an earthly environment, in an Asian type of setting. In part 2, we knew that we were going to send our characters to sort of a different world, and so the door was completely open for us to kind of interpret that in any way we wanted.
Mortal Kombat 3 has so much hidden stuff, it's just endless, just the amount of stuff that we packed in there.
Okay, come here. I don't know if I should be telling you this, but I'm going to show you a move, okay? Listen. You can go back, forward, back, and then down, and then push the run button. And if you do that really fast, I'll be your friend forever.
The button and joystick combinations were the expected. Everybody would start looking for them immediately, and that's when I believe Ed came up with this whole sort of combination lock system.
There's 6 little boxes, 3 of which are controlled by player 1, 3 of which are controlled by player 2. Try different combinations of those 6. So there's a million possible combinations to see what can be unlocked in the game. And then there's John Vogel. He did backgrounds for part 1. He did some stop motion animation stuff for part 2, and he did some backgrounds in part 3.
He worked on backgrounds along with Tony Goski.
Tony's probably one of the most respected artists in this department. He's probably, probably one of the best artists in any industry, and he conceptualizes backgrounds as well.
This is the Soul Chamber, and this is where the Soulnado.
He never ceases to amaze us. Steve Moran worked on Mortal Kombat 3. That was the first one he worked on, and he did the character graphics with John Tobias.
I like doing stuff that's actually kind of shocking. Not so much violent or anything, but just stuff that gets a reaction.
Dave Mikic, he's like our resident 3D expert. He kind of got everybody up to speed on doing 3D stuff, and he can crank out anything using a 3D program faster than anybody in the world.
It's important for Mortal Kombat fame.
Dan shows you cool stuff every couple of days. He just comes in and you go, great, this is awesome.
And he's a lot like Ed, where I just have this confidence that, he's going to go away and come back with something spectacular.
That's the Johnny Cage Nut Crunch, I believe. Didn't someone make a candy bar, Johnny Cage Nut Crunch bar?
John Tobias and some of the other guys from the Mortal Kombat team happened to just come up to me and, kind of poke on my arm and say, do you want to do a character? And I said, oh no, can I do a character? He said, yeah, I'd love to have you.
People don't realize that there's a lot of work done in the actual characters and their costume. I've never asked John for a character that looks like something. He shows me something and says, what do you think of that? And I go, that's great.
See, the inspiration, I think, for a lot of the characters come from all over the place. I mean, they come from movies I've seen when I was a kid. They come from books I've read. I mean, everybody gets inspiration from somewhere.
I started out with NBA Jam as a cheerleader, and then I went to Revolution X as Mistress Helga, and they asked me to do Mortal Kombat. They needed me Sonya. I said, sure, I'd love to do it.
Pizza Man.
When I was a character here, that sort of like funded me going to school, because I wanted to be an artist like all my life.
As with all the Mortal Kombat games, the characters are definitely the most interesting of any fighting game.
Hey, get out of here, man. It's supposed to be
Between Sector and Raiden, who would win? Sector's got it.
Raiden would win.
Sector's got it in the bag.
Raiden would win.
Don't even try to. That's it. Oh, got it in the bag. That's it. Sector can tell me.
No, get your hand out.
Don't even
We're
try
gonna
to
settle this outside, man.
Oh, I'm getting for it now, buddy. Come on. Come on, pal. Come on.
Well, let's see, a character would probably first start with me sitting down staring at a blank wall for a little while, and then after a while something will hit me and I'll just start sketching around different ideas.
We went months and months not having names for these characters, and then we'd have these powwow sessions where everybody would kind of throw out names.
Shang Tsung.
Look at that Cybot.
Ignore Shang Tsung.
Cybot
Combinations for
and
Shang Tsung.
Yeah, but maybe it was a military prototype. And the other one was just like a security guard at a mall that didn't work out right.
Cybot X11?
There goes X11. See, anything with X is cool. I like X11.
There it goes.
Cybot. That's the bias backwards.
Yeah, no, but I think it sounds cool.
That does sound cool.
Everybody says Saybot.
That could be a good name for the robot.
Cybot.
We're gonna have Mayo. That's the secret character.
No Cybot.
Oh, man.
Why?
DEFCON is overused.
Where?
Everywhere.
No.
I've heard that so many times.
Yeah, every time you watch War Games.
Yeah, well, you know what's going to happen? We're going to come up with all the names, we're all going to like them, and Ed's going to hate every one of them.
95% of them, somebody would say a name, and then there'd be one of us, of the 5 or 6 of us, who would just, have a heart attack just because they hated it so much. And then we're like, okay, I guess that's a no.
That's good.
Don't show that to me.
When we started filming a character, we'd get into work probably roughly around 10 o'clock, and usually the whole filming process takes, all day.
Oh, an average day of a 14-hour shoot? Let's see. Well, we came in and got into makeup. It didn't take too long for Sonya. She doesn't wear much.
And then we have a list, a huge list of animations, kicks, punches, uppercuts, and then the special moves and stuff. And we basically go down that list, capturing every single frame of them performing these moves.
Hi, Raiden. Hi, Sector.
1, 2, back.
Yeah, that's good. Let's try that one.
You have to do each move 8 ways. As you see, a joystick goes 8 different ways. So if I was to do a front kick, I'd have to do it frontwards, backwards, sideways, and diagonal 4 different ways.
This is why we have the tape on the floor, just to keep them facing the right direction.
Here's the camera that takes in the signal. We run signals into our beta camera recorder, and we also run a signal here into our PC. And then on our PC here, we have one of our boards connected to that. And also, this is where we do the actual grabbing of frames to be digitized. You can kind of see our talent out there, and I'll really quickly grab some images of them. That's good, Tony. We're able to click through frame by frame, delete the frames we don't want, keep the frames that we do like. As a matter of fact, you know what we should do?
Is shove them.
We should shove them. We should have done that from day one. Somebody just push them real hard.
We're just gonna all right, now the next animation, just stand there. Push.
The day that we spend filming is probably, like 2% of the entire amount of time that has to be devoted into doing it.
Once we get the digitized image, it's a lot like painting. And right now we're going through a process where we sort of filter the images through. We'll grab the image and Steve Baran will start and do some Photoshop on the guy, and then we'll hand him over to Tony, who does some touch-up. And then it gets passed over to me, and then I do some of this more detailed touch-up, and then I give it back to Steve, and he kind of separates the different colors and creates the different palettes, and then we give it back to Tony, and he does the final touch-up and stuff and gets it ready for the game. I did a drawing of this and everything. In 3D, you can make it any size and any lighting, any angle you wanted. Dave Michich did this, the 3D version. It's just ornamental, it's just like kind of a really neat background thing. But I was telling Ed about the story, like it's a soul cage. I'm working on a friendship move for our Shigoro character. That's her tentative name. She doesn't have a real name yet. Her move is she's going to turn around and she's going to pull out sort of plates and little sticks, and she spins the plates on the sticks and balances them on her hand, and she does this with her back towards you.
Shiva wins. Friendship.
This is Shang Tsung morphing into the robot ninja, who we call Ketchup right now, because right now there's a red guy and there's a yellow guy, so we call them Ketchup and Mustard. But they will have real names later on.
And then you know what? And then we can give them numbers, so it'll be poop on you too, Right.
Whatever can possibly happen in the game, I have to program the game to be able to do that. As you play the game, when you first start, the computer is very dumb. It'll just stand there, it'll let you beat it up. And then as you fight the second guy, it'll get a little smarter, and then the third guy a little smarter. And it has to be progressive. It has to be something that's, a smooth increase in the difficulty. Because if you play the game the first time and the computer kills you, you're not going to want to play it again.
There's comfort in knowing that the other person is doing their job beyond your expectations. The good thing about working with that is you can hand them some artwork, and you can, you'll see it in the game pretty quickly.
Time! You tell me time! 1 second.
Well, we test the games. When it comes close to the time that the game is done, they have us come in and we just play it. We play them all day long and look for bugs.
The difference between Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3 is that they added a run button, and when you use the run button, it makes you aggressive towards your opponent. You're gonna have to keep on using the run over and over and over to attack your opponent.
What we're going to show you now is a few simple combos that'll get you started playing. A lot of characters have a simple combo with kicks, which usually involves three presses of the same button. Like Cyrex has, you press high kick twice and then back and high kick for the final hit. And he does 3 hits and knocks the opponent away.
My favorite move would probably be Kano's chokehold. It'll be down towards low punch.
One of my favorite codes is disable blocking. Each player presses block twice when the code things come up on the screen, and it turns off blocking, so you can't be a defensive player. You have to play offensively or you're going to lose, because there's no way you can block anybody's hits.
This is the sound area. This is where they make all the sounds for the games.
You try to imagine the action of playing the game and what the music's gonna do to get you revved up. Ed gives me a videotape of just sort of scrolling through the backgrounds. I just look at that and try to get some idea about the kind of mood, the kind of setting that we're trying to represent. Now this one in particular, I was thinking, well, this reminds me of Mortal Kombat II. It's got that very dark outworld feel that looks like Goro with this green thing in his mouth.
Yes, I do know martial arts. Kung Fu.
I try to get a rhythm going and then fill it out with harmony.
It evolved from Your Toast.
That's Ed Boon, pitch down a few semitones.
So, I mean, in the movie, he's Scorpion. You'll see in the credits, Ed Boon, voice of Scorpion.
Feel the power of Shao Kahn.
You know, Shao Kahn was played by Steve Ritchie, who is the king, as we all know him. Pinball designer.
Flawless victory.
Basically, everyone has a set of speech calls for attacking, you know, punching, getting hit, you know, getting hit in the face, getting hit in the body.
We do the arcade version, which is the original one, and then after that, one's been out for about a year or so, and then they start converting it into the home platforms, that's where you get the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation, and all that.
Well, Chicago guys send us the assembly source code, and then we go line by line and convert it into C.
They also drop shipped us all the original artwork that they did, all the finished artwork that went into the game and their file formats, and then it's up to us to rip it out and figure out what file format would be best to use on our PlayStation and convert it down and make it work.
We have one piece of hardware that has a particular size of RAM and a CD-ROM, which is in the machine. And so what you have to do is you have to decide what chunks of sound data have to come off of the CD-ROM into the RAM of the machine, and at one point in the game.
The quality on the PSX is better. It's stereo 44:1 sound, just like you'll buy in any music store, CD shop. It's the same stuff.
One of the most amazing things I think we found in the game that we couldn't believe was the fact that Shiva was a stop-motion puppet. When we were originally just looking at the artwork, we were just saying there's no way. I mean, we see like muscles rippling, it looks like her face is changing, it just looked too real.
One of the codes, if you, on the briefcase screen, if you push the third symbol down one, you'll get a new exclusive PSX code. Don't think we're going to tell you what it is. We'll just let
Find out on your own.
Who's the best? Who's the best? Who's the best?
Man, who's the best, man?
You're the best, man.
No, man, you're the best, man.
Ray's the best. Ray's the coolest. And Ray disappears and he's like flying. He's gonna teleport. It's
all an illusion. It's all an illusion.
Open sesame. It's never really been a game. It's not about amusement. It's about power and obsession. It's controversy and it's battle. It stands supreme above all others. It is without question the most successful title in the history of our industry. It's a new realm. What ideal environment would you create to guarantee the success of a new game? What kind of a game would you design? How would you promote it? How would you ignite a firestorm of product awareness and set brand new sales records? You might want to start with a proven winner. Maybe a household word with a massive player base eager for new challenges. You'd want the most successful game anthology in the history of electronic entertainment. MK3. This masterpiece takes proven strengths and cranks up the intensity. It's faster, with more characters, backgrounds, and thrilling secret moves. We've also added a special new feature, something never seen before. This combination lock is something revolutionary in our industry. It's like a briefcase lock, with 6 wheels and 1 million combinations. By discovering these special combat codes, players will unlock the secrets of a new fighting world. Where will they learn the secret codes? Everywhere. In the film, live tour, in the animated series, even in the advertising. Those who learn secret codes are now compelled to play the game in search of secret power. For a Mortal Kombat player, knowledge is power. Compelling secrets increase game sales. That's why we've made secret codes the cornerstone of the ad campaign. From March through December, all major player and trade publications will be bombarded with ads like this. Notice the symbols we just mentioned. The ad campaign is designed to get players to use the secret codes. You'll see them in all of our advertising. You can use these codes in the game itself. How will it work? By using these symbols, ads will provide clues to codes on MK3 games. It's like a puzzle where one piece is missing. To solve the puzzle, players must purchase MK3 and play the game. What other advertising is being done? Throughout the year, you'll see licensed products, over $500 million worth. It's an unending supply of merchandise and Mortal Kombat awareness. What's more, brand new licensed products, merchandise exclusive to Mortal Kombat 3, will soon be available for a wide range of promotions.
Oh no, the knife, man! 511 in progress. Let's go!
the inspiration from NARC was really it's like there's a theme. I think everybody's intrigued with drugs, and it's just it's like this cops and robbers thing. Miami Vice.
Cadillacs.
Cadillacs. Right. So it's like the kind of seamy side of life that it's repugnant. It's morally disgusting in some way, but inside everyone there's that's kind of.
You want to clean it up.
I want to know. Yeah.
You want to clean it up.
I want to clean it up, or at least want to check it out some more.
Right.
And
you want to live that life for a while. Right.
That's it. You have this fantasy, and so it was like, how do we? Because even at that era, it was there's controversies about ratings and all this kind of thing, and the idea was to put you on the kind of as a Clint Eastwood, the guy cleaning up the neighborhood, and you could have that way you could have fun being out there, but still be on the moral. You'd have the moral forces in your favor and be the good guy.
You could be blue guy or red guy. You have your helmet on. You're out there. That's right. Yeah, blue guy and red guy.
Yeah, and then and you could go out there and actually there was a yellow guy for a while.
Right. But yeah, you go out there and clean out. That's that. You had the what kind of a car was that? That's a Porsche.
Right, like machine guns.
Move around and avoid the bombs and jump out, and there's lots of cash and money on the floor, and you pick it up and.
Total Reagan thing was like say no or die. It was definitely no. It was like protect the innocent, punish the guilty.
That particular game had so much EEPROM. I mean, more memory and a higher resolution monitor than any of probably the Mortal Kombat games or the NBA Jam games all the way. I mean, the very first one, they threw everything at it, and.
Wasn't that sort of the comeback of Williams in a way?
It was actually,
hardware and
we would actually, and it was the first. Actually, it was the first game that Williams did that was high resolution. And it was like, at the time we thought, the pixel was dead.
Mm-hmm.
This was kind of our, we're going to have so many pixels that you aren't going to see pixels, it's going to be real. And it was a very tight 19-inch monitor with just a huge amount of pixels. And the images were incredibly tight. And it was very jewel-like in its appearance.
Right, it's very vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah!
While it's true that there have been no serious side effects reported thus far, I think we may...
Help me! Help me!
Captain Carnage!
Find me a wizard of lore. Warlock will escape through the door. My weapon is stronger than your weapon, warrior. If you destroy my babies, I'll pop you in the face. Your bones will lie in the depths of war. Hurry back. I can't wait to do it again. Hey, insert going time.
Let's go.